To order.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we start with the Pledge of Allegiance? Everybody has a flag, I hope.
Yep.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can I get a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
And that's for both sets of minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Keith, you're up.
Okay, the financials that are in your package are the same financials that were at the last executive committee meeting for as of March 31st. I just got the final statement for April this morning, so unfortunately I don't have the April finished yet, but we have $10 million in investments available in FAD money to be used for projects, and a little over $5 million for equip money to be used for projects. So we're still in good shape for that. We've had our audit. The audit is completed. There were no issues with the audit, and attached in your package is the IRS Form 990 to be filed with the IRS. With your approval, and also the report for the State Charities Bureau, the Chair 500. So both of those need to be accepted by the board.
All right, I'd like to make a motion. We approve the audit and authorize its filing.
I'll second the motion then.
All in favor?
All in favor, aye.
Aye. Just to mention one other thing about finance, we're also looking at another bank possibly. We do have M&T right now. Joanne had a problem with them because we don't have online access, and Keith has been talking to them also. I think we were talking to Putnam County Savings Bank as a possibility, and of course M&T all of a sudden realized they can give us access even though they couldn't a week ago. So I'm not sure where that's going, but just so everybody's aware. If you have any comments, you can get them over to Keith.
And I have not heard from M&T, so that's, if they've contacted you, that's news to me.
Well, I was in there and I said, you have to make Keith happy. So he has no visibility into the system online, which in this day and age is ridiculous. And we fall into this kind of corporation that they don't provide that, but I think they're figuring out a way to do it. So
that's they need to figure that out pretty quickly, because I'm fairly happy with Putnam County's proposal. So,
yep, yeah, I think the interest was 0.45% too, which is pretty good.
Yep, that's considerably higher than M&T is paying.
Yeah.
And M&T, sorry, Putnam County has said they will provide us with a check scanner for the office, so that they will no longer have to actually go to the branch to deposit checks. So that would be a convenience as well.
So I just want to let everybody know we're working on that. And if anybody has any issues, let us know, please.
All right, if I could chime in here, I will tell you this: we moved some of our accounts about a year ago to Pauling Savings, and have been very pleased with the service we've been getting. And what I like best is typically a bank, when you move all your accounts into the bank, they then forget about you. And Pauling Savings is not. They actually come down just about every quarter to see how things are working.
Well, we have enough money, so we have enough money so we can move it into a couple of. We have a fairly large amount of money that we have collateralized and stuff. But.
Okay, who wants to tackle the reporting and filing dates?
That will be me. So the green highlight is for the New York State ABO member training and the compliance schedule. So what you're seeing in green here refers to what's on this page. So this is for those waiting to complete their board member training. And unfortunately, all the dates for training are filled at this point. So once those dates open up, I will notify those members and they can schedule their training. For back to the first page, the two items highlighted in yellow with regard to the 2022 O&M town inspection documents, the only submission we received to date is from the town of Bedford. And for the 2021 payments received from municipalities, we're just waiting for 2 more checks. And once we get those, we can submit the invoice to Westchester County for reimbursement.
What 2 towns are you waiting for?
So we're waiting for Yorktown and Lewisboro.
Okay.
So
I'll
once
let
we
you-
receive those, we can submit the invoice to Westchester County, and then we can write checks back to those Westchester municipalities that are due for reimbursement. And then the last item is the financial disclosures here. So I received an update yesterday from the Ethics Board, Putnam County Ethics Board, and the deadline is approaching for everyone to file on May 15th. So I did send everyone an email, a reminder email yesterday who has not completed it. And hopefully we'll make the deadline. And that's it.
Any
Anyone
questions?
have questions?
No, if you need any help pushing any of the elected officials, I mean, we can maybe let myself know for people in Westchester or however you want to work it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
You know, a
take
lot of
care.
times I'm on the list just because I forget what I've done, but
Okay.
that happens quite often.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's only Westchester that's outstanding at this point. So I'll let you know.
Cortland. Yeah, Sabrina, I guess, yeah. Okay, so Bob and Richard and Rob.
All right, Chris, you want to talk about the changes to the open meetings law? You got to unmute first.
I would love to.
Thank you.
So as I'm sure you all know by now, because you're dealing with this in your individual municipalities, there was an amendment to the open meetings law to change the use of video conferencing after the end of the most recent emergency. And then the period during which you can continue to follow the COVID rules is currently ends June 8th. After that, you won't be able to use the emergency rules for video conferencing anymore. So if you want to continue to use video conferencing other than under the old rules, which required you, if you may recall, to provide a notice of every location where the meeting was going to be held remotely and to participate, to allow the public to participate at every location. If you want something broader than that, you're required to hold a public hearing and authorize video conferencing under this new procedure that's authorized by the amendments to the open meeting law. It allows you to hold a video conference meeting by video conference, not by teleconference. You may not use a teleconference and you may not turn off your screens. Under the new rules, if you're going to use video conferencing, it has to be video. If you are going to use video conferencing, you would have one or more physical locations where the public could attend, meaning, for example, you could notice in your meeting that a person could attend at the EOH location and potentially at one or more of your town halls where the public would be allowed to attend, ADA accessible and so forth. If you do that, though all of those people at those noticed physical locations would be counted towards a quorum. Someone who was in an extraordinary circumstance, quote unquote, could also participate by video conference, a board member. They need not then allow the public to attend with them in that extraordinary circumstance. The law does not give an exhaustive list. It says, including disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical location at the meeting. we had a conference with Coog sent us, sent everyone some clarifying language, which I've included in this distribution. We also had a follow-up Bar Association conference that Coog attended, and we were able to ask a lot of questions to clarify some of these things. And, the messages that were provided were that, the legislature is providing a strong presumption for in-person meetings, that if you're going to do this, you're going to have to hold a hearing, even if somebody like EOH doesn't normally hold a hearing. You would have to hold a hearing in order to adopt rules like this. And the issue of what constitutes another significant factor, something that you would address in your procedures that you would adopt. She believes that this is Shoshana Boulay, who is the executive director of Coog. She believes that that can be broadly interpreted, and that you should identify what your board considers to be an extraordinary circumstance that will allow somebody to attend from another location. In the absence of those rules, if somebody just gets on the phone with a board meeting and they weren't noticed correctly, in other words, notice wasn't provided in your notice of meeting that somebody was going to attend in this manner, then that person could listen just as the public could listen, but they're not allowed to participate in board deliberations.
Part of
the
a quorum?
exception-
I assume not.
They
Would
would
they be
not
part
be
of-
a part of, they would not be a part of a quorum. And in fact, the extraordinary circumstance person, even if they qualify for an extraordinary circumstance, you're in a hospital bed, and you're calling in and notice was given for that, you would not be counted towards the quorum. You have to be in a physical location that the public can attend in order to be counted towards the quorum. But if you have a quorum, then a person in extraordinary circumstance can participate in the meeting if it was properly noticed that someone could participate in that manner. Interestingly, you could participate in an executive session because the same public attendance rules are not required for an executive session. And maybe this is more information than you want, but this is by way of introduction to the issue. Procedurally, because a hearing is required, what we have suggested, and it's entirely up to you, is that the board of directors delegate the executive committee to hold the hearing, and that the executive committee thereafter could authorize the use of video conferencing. And that is simply for expediency because the board of directors doesn't meet until end of the summer. So this is all for your discussion, for the discussion of the board as to whether or not you want to follow this kind of procedure.
So so we still can have video, so people like Vincent or the DEP or county, whoever else wants to come in can come in.
If they're not a board member, correct?
Yeah.
Could do
I
a
don't know.
hybrid essentially, right?
Yeah, and then I'm not sure if that's something we would do. But that probably should be discussed a little bit also for some of those folks. I don't know what everybody's would like to do. I would not have a problem having my room here as a meeting room for an East Hudson. Some of you may not want to do that. In other words, anybody could show up here if we continue to do videos, right?
Well, essentially, we would need to set up one or more rooms to allow for video conferencing. I don't think we're set up that way right now.
I
Well,
think
Zoom
some kind of an eye,
Well-
right, on the table.
Well, let me ask this, right? So if, I can understand this, right? So if we were all set up at look, most of us are doing this from, our village or town halls, right? So as long as we set up in, let's say, our meeting room, right, rather than Rich inviting or Warren inviting everybody into their office, if we set up in boardrooms on our laptops, right, or computers and conference in that way, but the various village and town hall locations are listed in the notice, open to the public, right? Everybody would count towards the quorum, correct?
Yes, as long as, again, you have to be able to see one another, right, on the screen. You board members have to be able to see one another on the screen, right?
Right. Otherwise, we're also, otherwise, right, it's a couple of locate, right? So we could all, a number of us could end up, at EOH headquarters there in Patterson and participate, and another group of people could participate in North Salem Town Hall and, Kent Town Hall or somewhere else, right? And those are the three locations where we are, right? I mean, it's not necessarily, I mean, it's
Right, it's
so
so
many
that,
locations. I mean, it can be everybody's individual town hall or village hall, provided that, the public, we notice it that way and the public is able to come into that room and participate and view the whole thing.
that's correct. I mean, I think at EOH, you're gonna have some kind of a video set up so that you can see everyone who's at the physical location. Or everybody's, I mean,
Can't you do that now with Zoom?
I don't know what they're.
You can. It doesn't matter where you're, like if folks have Zoom boards or laptops connected to screens, it projects whatever the room is to a computer. So instead of, for example, me being here, you'd see the room with everybody sitting in that room. And so, at EOH, if you're using a laptop with a camera, you can use a laptop with a camera.
Yeah, I think you want to test that out. I've been in those hybrid situations and they don't always work that well unless you have a good microphone extender and sometimes an eye.
I've been running my town meetings that way.
Yeah, we've been running our meetings as well.
The problem that you have is all the
Same here.
microphones have to go through the same computer. Otherwise, you just can't hear people that are sitting further away.
Correct.
And
Right,
you can't have each computer on because you end up with bad reverb when everybody's in the same room.
right.
Yeah. No, you need one computer with a microphone system.
Yeah, look, if we want to, I mean, there's a value in doing it over Zoom because we don't have to, saves us a half an hour each way probably for me. But whatever the group wants to do. We'd have to figure it out. Even if we were all there and still had a Zoom connection, does everybody have to see every member of the board?
Yep, because the idea is that you're supposed to be able to see one another in order to deliberate.
No, I'm
Right,
not
but
talking, let's say the board's all there. Does everybody else need to? They could call in, right? It doesn't even have to be a video conference if
Oh,
Who can call in, Warren?
the DEP, if the DEP
Oh,
wanted. to-
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Somebody other than a board member could call in, yes.
But Christine, so let's say we can all see each other, right? You're suggesting too that at those physical locations, the camera needs to pick up all of the members of the public in the room too, correct or no?
Well, I don't think that's important. I think it's important that they see you, right? That they can see the board and that the board can see one another because you're supposed to be deliberating.
Fair enough.
I think the public needs to be able to see you, right? Because that's why the video is required. Both you need to see one another, and I think the intention is that the public needs to be able to see you too. Because we're supposed to be videoing this. Keeping a record of it.
As scary as that is for the public to see me, I gotta.
so the proposal actually is to send this back to the executive committee to get this going. And I think if the motion passes, that maybe the executive committee wants to set up a couple of trial runs to see how this would work. And then after that, we could work on developing the procedures.
Yeah,
I'll
I
make that
think we're
motion.
gonna have to, right? Because Christine, the other piece here is this is the last opportunity, right? We're gonna have to have it figured out because the next quarterly meeting is gonna be after that June 8th date. And so we're gonna have to have
Correct.
this figured out and be ready to go for that next quarterly meeting.
That's correct. And your individual municipalities are going to have to adopt the local law to authorize video conferencing if you're going to do it for yourselves.
We're talking about it tonight, but.
Right, we don't do local laws. We do it by resolution, but still have to have a public hearing. So this is the resolution that we prepared to authorize EOH, the executive committee, EOHWC, to proceed to hold the hearing and determine whether to authorize.
So when does the hearing have to be by? Can it
The
be-
hearing, well, I mean,
have a notice
the
but-
current expiration is June 8th unless we have a further extension of the emergency orders, right? So the intention would be to publish a notice for your next meeting, I guess.
In May?
In potentially in May, because you can
Would
still,
we have to have a, would we have to have a
Right.
special meeting? Right, because our next
It
meeting.
sounds like it, yeah.
so what we've said is at a regular meeting of the EOH or such other time and date is determined by the president. So the intention is that the president would set the public hearing date. So you could set the public hearing date for the May meeting is the intention of the resolution. The intention would be to have it at that May meeting, have the hearing at that May meeting.
All right, Chris, don't
We
we
don't
need
have
to
to make a
have,
decision then, but to have a hearing then, right?
don't we have to have policies and procedures in, at least in draft form?
We do. We have a draft of policies and procedures for you to consider.
Okay. Is that
Executive committee to
shared with
consider.
everybody?
I don't know. I think that the resolution was provided because that's all that was under consideration today, but Linda can distribute the policies and procedures as well following the meeting. I mean, I think the idea would be for you to take input from the rest of the about this, even if you're holding it at the executive committee, certainly you want to take input from the rest of the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying, if we're going to set the public hearing, we need to have those policies and procedures, at least in draft form, shared
Yes.
with everybody.
Yes.
All right. Is there any, I don't recall, is there any notice requirements in the law as far as having the public hearing? 5 days, 14 days? I don't
There's
recall.
not a requirement. I think we determined that you should use 10 days. So that's what you should be looking to do.
All right, then we should be okay with that if we can get it noticed right away.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I think I sent Linda a list of procedures that she'd have to do to put the notice out. It'll have to be on the website and so forth.
Yes, you did.
And Rich, would you like to include the procedures on the website with the notice of hearing so that what you're thinking about is available to everybody?
I think we should.
Yep, okay. And I will say that most of the things in the procedures are intended to sort of follow the statute, but the description of what constitutes sort of an excuse to participate by extraordinary means is intentionally broad in those procedures. And you all may look at that and decide that you don't like it. But, it's there for you to talk about. Okay.
Yep. All right, that being, any other discussion on this? All right, hearing none, does somebody want to introduce the resolution?
Well, I'll move the resolution as written. I'm sure you don't want me to read the whole thing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're down to project update. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm just first we're gonna just restate some of the things that Linda pointed out for the O&M update that we still, although it's pretty typical that we haven't had very many submittals come in the spring. We encourage everybody to, if you're spending money and you're spending time out there on these projects, get it into us now so we can just start getting it into the database and collecting all the data. Now is the time where Corey and I are going to be knocking on some doors to make sure that all projects are getting the needed attention. Spring cleanup should be well underway. And I think there's a few that we felt could use a little attention from last year's reporting. But other than that, I'll jump right into the project update. So we currently have I think it was 600, get to the right page, sorry. Currently, we have credit for 665 kilograms. With the total active projects list added to that, we should have 1,063 kilograms removed if you count for all the projects that are actively out for design or construction. As you guys know, we only need to hit 920, but these projects are all in great shape. We'll be moving forward. We've got a whole bunch that are going to be getting out for installation for the next few months. Primarily catch basin inserts, which are an easy jump in construction period, but a few more major projects that will be circling for late summer and early fall construction. For the program in a whole, we have provided the annual report to New York State DC and DEP for review and consideration. The program schedule is going to be updated and provided to the state so they can get an idea of construction period for all of our projects. We can very easily provide that so they can get a snapshot of how we're going to get to that 920 kilogram requirement, and in fact even see that we'll exceed it. We have still a large catalog of projects that are available to us from the year 6 through 10 report, in addition to things from 1 through 5 that didn't get touched on. So we have quite a bit of collection of projects looking forward that we can incorporate when and if we get the opportunity to tackle anything for years 11 through 15 or 20. But we encourage everybody within the program to continue bringing new projects to us. As a whole, Corey and I have been looking at rolling out some more green infrastructure for everybody's downtown areas. Any major roads that go through that can be used as more of a showpiece and aesthetic value to the communities would be a great impact. Not only will it give us our phosphorus reduction, but we can get the opportunity to hit on some grants that might be available out there. If anybody has any specific questions on projects that are coming up or that are on the list, please reach out to us and we'll tackle them.
We all set?
Yep.
All right. Next on the agenda is a discussion on the CFE grant and shared services. First off, I want to mention that the CFA process is about to open, and I don't think it is open yet, but it's a great opportunity for all of us to take a look at maybe putting in for a project for stormwater that we can partner with the East of Hudson watershed and get some benefit while benefiting our communities. But I was also contacted by Jackie Anabi, who is supervisor of Putnam Valley. She's still here. Who was interested in the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation putting in a grant application, perhaps for some shared services. We talked a little bit about it, and the corporation has talked about doing this in the past. We've actually amended the charter so we could do this. And then the question is, what are we going to be looking to put a grant application in for? We've talked about a couple of things in the past, doing inspections, addressing the educational component, of the program, which is, somewhat of a big lift for all of us. And, we don't all need, we've got to give out the same message through all our communities. Actually I talked to Bruce Barber with Jackie Anabi, and Jackie, jump in at any point. That they were looking at perhaps being a little bit more aggressive with talking about buying some equipment, maybe taking on some of the obligations for street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. So with that, I'll open it up to discussion about, if anybody has any thoughts on putting a grant in under the CFA program and what we would be looking to do.
The grant that I was talking to Rich about is the Government Efficiency Program grant, and there's $4 million out there for that. And I thought if we can put a grant out, as a group together, it would, it would benefit everyone. That came down from the Department of State. I'm sure everybody got the same email, but I was talking to Bruce about it, and then I got Rich on the phone. We were able to discuss it a little bit. So I just thought it might be a good program that we should look into.
Absolutely. It's, I can't imagine with 18 municipalities, 19, whatever we are, that we wouldn't be able to get something out of this. Is it the concern just educational stuff, or is?
Well, the question is, what are we going to put the grant application in for? Whether it's, again, inspections, education.
I think given the diversity of the municipalities, right? Because everybody has different equipment right now, everybody has different programs. I think that the first two, education, or maybe just the education and outreach aspects, and then we can really try and hone in on applying for projects. If you have a project.
Well, the problem with the project is a lot of data to be gathered. Education seems like it'd be pretty easy to put together.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this question real quick. One of our obligations is mapping, and we all had to meet that 100% of mapping our infrastructure a long time ago. Is there anybody who hasn't completed the mapping portion of this?
Well, we're still going back and doing some of that too, because it's more accurate now. The stuff we have, we have drains in the middle of roadways or in the middle of yards based on some of the GPS stuff we were doing before. So all the outflows, I think, is what we're focused on right now to make them more accurate.
Yeah, I'm with Warren on that. We have some map. We have our mapping, but it's a dated mapping that could probably use a little TLC on my end. So, but I don't have the ability to do it.
Why are you asking the question, Rich?
Well, it's just one other element of the program. I know a lot of other stormwater coalitions are really focused on the mapping. Especially with this latest permit, there are areas in our state where they didn't have this requirement before. So.
Well, we just bought new iPads and Verizon, connectivity and stuff, so we can do it right from the iPad. There's apps out there. I know we had
That's how we did.
talked to Kevin and stuff about that. But the data you have, probably, if it's like ours, we used some older systems a while ago and we did it. You bring it up on a GIS system and you see the catch basins in the middle of the house. So it's not terribly accurate.
Well, you just hit on another one, the inspection program. We could look at, getting tablets and, a specific software program so we could all do uniform inspections throughout the watershed.
Maybe the question here too is, again, with everybody's mapping, maybe in different stages, maybe the grant application is, again, to consolidate everybody's mapping into one shared database that we're all working from, and that everybody's also then, to that point on inspections, reporting and feeding into the updated, yep, okay, we inspected these 10 basins today, we cleaned these 12, we inspected these outfalls, right? We did, so that everybody's feeding it. But to your point, Rich, right, that it's uniform, that it's standard, that we're all singing from the same hymnal.
Agreed.
I think to a point Kevin raised earlier too, I mean, there's again, because it's all of us as a coalition, right? There's a better opportunity of success. And one of the things I know they're having a hard time, Kevin mentioned the green infrastructure programs. There's a pile of money out there, and I know they're having a hard time getting it out the door. I don't know whether it's first applying for, we look at a planning or to try to come up with a few projects and then follow up the following year on that.
All right, so.
Well, let me ask Kevin. Kevin, if we were how would we handle education? Would that money come out to municipalities, or would it go out of East of Hudson, or?
We would be, we're in a prime position to extend the projects that are within existing school districts to utilize a program that we can incorporate into their science programs. A lot of these schools have engineering clubs, science clubs, environmental clubs. We can start reaching out to those folks, incorporating the projects we already have on their property, expanding the projects that into new projects that we want to install on those sites. All of you have municipal libraries that have not really been utilized in the past for our project sites. So we could work on educational programs through the libraries to extend this. In my opinion, in this case, I was just reading the eligible projects and funding for this. As a group, the maximum amount we would qualify for seems to be $1.1 million. And that, I mean, this is a large group. If they actually looked at this and said, yeah, this is a great way that we could move forward with this, 1.1 would go really far in, one in education, two in evaluating, monitoring.
You're going to need head
Sorry?
count. It's going to be head count. It's going to be for how many years? It's going to be, you're not going to ask for 1 year. So it's going to be multiple years. So,
Yeah.
you know, half of it potentially is going to head count. And then
Yeah.
you need stuff for mailing and curriculum and all the other stuff that we're thinking about doing.
Right.
So it's going to go a long way. I think what we need to do is if that's what we're going to apply for, I got to believe it would be something that the DEC, at least, I don't know about the EFC, but they would look at very favorably, Tom Snow and those guys, Kaczynski. And if we could get
we've talked offline here a few times about getting some signage in at all of our retrofit project sites, and that can have a huge impact and not actually be that expensive for the program. We've got a lot of retrofits that are taking over parks, stretched out. Reese Park in Somers, Leonard Park down in Mount Kisco. These are sites that have 5, sometimes 10 retrofits already there that we could start building out and reaching out to the communities with. So I think targeting the education, monitoring, inspection portion of the MS4 requirement is going to go really far if we're able to come up with a strong application, and I think we have.
Okay, so who's going to put that list together? Because I think we just came up with $1.1 million for this stuff over a 5-year period.
Can I say something here for a second? I'm not so sure. Tilly is going to be taking on building a satellite for Cornell Cooperative Extension, and maybe we take them in too as a partner, and they could help with all of the other parks to do. They're doing a lot of different things right now at satellite sites for education. Would you want us to approach them maybe to help? And then, I mean, even the Soil and Water Conservation District people in Westchester and Putnam and maybe Dutchess might want to get involved. I don't know if Lori's on. I don't know what Lori would think about it, but she was very involved with it all. If there's an opportunity, maybe, so that it's not just all on us. And Cornell's whole job is education, really.
I was just thinking that it would be nice if we got the funding to hire someone for East of Hudson to put out messages that can go out on our websites, or even a brochure that can then go on our website under the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation's name, so that we're putting out the same message to everyone regarding phosphorus removal and stormwater. So the average homeowner, or anybody for that matter, would be getting that information, and it would be across all of our municipalities.
I agree with that. I think that if we could create a program that we could post individually on our websites that reflect East of Hudson and the stormwater requirements, I think it would help us satisfy those obligations. I also like Kevin's point of the monitoring and inspection of retrofits and signage at retrofits.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's an easy piece of this of the monitoring and inspections that can immediately be pulled in, because every retrofit, our inspections can't stop at the retrofit. our inspections have to be the drainage area that's coming down to it, so that we can point out to the municipalities, hey, you know, there's something wrong going on up here. We get way too much sediment down at the bottom. We got to do things a little bit differently up here too. So that's part of the stormwater retrofit program already that we can start rolling out and get a little extra firepower behind. And then, but then we expand it to, of course, the other elements that concern the AMS floors.
All right, so from what I'm hearing, I think we've got a good direction laid out for Kevin and Corey, and, you know, I'm sure Warren and I will have further conversations with them about getting a grant application in, which, you know.
Can I
follows
just
all
say
the
one
guidance.
thing, please, before you end? Again, as far as I understand it, the current funding agreement doesn't allow for East of Hudson staff.
Well, Benny, I was just gonna get there.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you, Rick.
As Vinny said, the current application, so there may be some chargeback to all our municipalities. And you should also be aware that, you know, typically these grant applications, there's a match. So we're all gonna have to come up with that share of the match as well. But if we can get substantial funding out of the state to do this, I think it's well worth the investment on the part of all our communities.
Is it possible for a non-East of Hudson employee to do a quick summary of what the individual municipal contribution would be for this grant, with a summary of what it would cover so that we can approach our boards to get approval for this?
Sure. Once we get into the grant application and understand what we're going to be asking for as far as, you know, financing and what the match is going to be, it's very easy for me to put it in a spreadsheet, you know, as I've done in the past, and send it to everybody so everybody knows what the contribution would be.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other business? Anything else anybody wishes to discuss? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's a beautiful day out there. I hope you all get a chance to get out and see it.
Yeah, from your mouth to God's ears. Thanks, Rich.
I will see you all soon.
Everybody.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.